archiving and stuff, which people talk about, archiving is not working out and disk would crash and film archives better. And I don't know. I think Scorsese fought for years fighting film fading. He has fought with Kodak for years against film fading. So I don't know where all those arguments stand, and not my area at all.
By the way, it came up during the press conference day before yesterday that the maker of Celluloid Man, the filmmaker and director, he said that even in Hollywood they preserve film, but it may change because Kodak filed for bankruptcy, in March this year. So you don't know how much of this is really logic and how much of it is just a lobby operating.
Okay, now this is a mic. Hello? Okay. Now the next thing they are talking about is the larger sensors. Now, digital is working with sensors which are kind of compatible with 35 millimeter sensors. The later sensors like the Red Dragon sensor which is coming out is compatible to the 65 mm negative. So I think that's going to be another game changer, which I think will be in favor of digital at the end of it. Okay, now this is the way it stands for me now as a guy who has been only working with film and doing most of the work on digital. This is where it stands right now. But there are a lot of other things which worry me as a guy who has seen both the sides now. One is the discipline which filmmaking had while it was mostly shot on 35 millimeter film. I think there is a quality loss in the discipline because for the simple reason that it's a cheaper medium, there's a trend to roll. You roll the rehearsal, you roll this, you roll that. So earlier there was a discipline of the actors coming in, they would rehearse the scene, we would break it down, okay, this shot, this shot, this shot, it would be rehearsed, our actors would hit the mark, the shot would happen. That discipline is very fast going out. I have never faced it when I was working on a film like Vishwarupam because Kamal sir is somebody who comes from that background, so filmmaking is just the same for him. We're just grabbing digital, that's all the difference. But with a lot of later generation advertising filmmakers when I work, I see the disturbing trend of finishing a film in like 4 terabytes and 5 terabytes kind of thing for an advertising film because you're just rolling constantly. I think some kind of discipline will have to come into this medium. Earlier the discipline was dictated by the cost factor. If you rolled more film, you lost more money. That is the backbone of the film. So that couldn't happen. Now there's not the backbone of the film. I think it brings in a very indisciplined system of working into filmmaking. But chaos is good, probably something nice would come out of the chaos. So this is what I thought I should tell you about. You can ask me questions within my knowledge.
Actually, I would suggest that we leave the response with some people. I will ask Vinod Raja to respond maybe for 5 minutes what he thinks about this presentation. And then filmmaker Chaitanya could also respond what he thinks about this. And I will say my own 2 bit and then maybe we can actually just open it up.
Morning everyone. At least I'm not shy to respond to some interesting scene which you gave. There's a lot of, one can see that you've spoken a cinematographer's language here. And most of it, and trying to, and it's very challenging to speak a cinematographer's language. It's very difficult to speak a cinematographer's language and reach out to as many people as you can. There is a limitation there. Somewhere, you can't cross and break the glass. Anyway, but it's very interesting. interesting that the commonalities of the problems with the digital as well as the transitions are concerned is what concerns us most, because many of us are still on film and our industry is still hooked up on CinemaScope. Without the CinemaScope, there is no film. And so the only concern I would say is when digital representations are made, most of it has gone on black. Most of it has gone on flat screen.
Yeah.
The formats are all more or less flat screen, more or less. So the problem is to get out of this without pulling out the anamorphic lens. The squeeze lens is always on the projector in every cinema house in India. I remember many years ago I filmed in a commercial for long ago, and we had traveled across Karnataka and shot on a Super 16 camera, and that was transferred to a kind of a thing where it was blown up to theaters in 35. So it was not a squeeze format at all. And my friend was telling me that in all the cinemas across Karnataka it was screened in squeeze format with the CinemaScope on. So it looked very weird, and it looked stretched out. So I remember. So these are the kind of challenges. And recently, I'm also planning. Making this transition from digital to, from cinema to from film to digital. And in these transitions, I find there are many challenges for us also. Many challenges. And the point was that most of the, I really like the point that you made that the cameras are becoming very small. I think that's a real bone. When the cameras get small, what happens is it's not intimidating. It's not like threatening you. It keeps everybody, in a sense of accepting it without any intimidation. But the problem with the same is discipline. When cameras go smaller, I don't know if many of you have seen the GoPro. The GoPro is a small digital camera that can be fixed anywhere in any of these things, and I had a chance to fix it in Auto Rickshaws and I was filming it. So now it's the age of GoPro, and the sense of discipline in any kind of unit is there's a mixture of formats also which is coming in now. Because what is happening is earlier we were always like you get fixed to a format. You have to decide before a script. When a script comes into your table, you say that okay, what format I'm going to be shooting. And formats become very important to cinematographers because it's a frame that you carry. It's like the canvas. What canvas are you? What is the size of the canvas that you're going to paint this picture? And your tones become the music to it. And it's like the musical score. The kind of tones that you can bring into your work is like a musical score. So the tonal scale becomes like a score for you. So now with these two tools that you have in hand, how do you produce a symphony? How do you make this music? How do you make this music called cinema? When you have a script in hand and when you have a format in hand. The advantage that he was pointing out is, and also Prakash was also referring to in formats, is that you have these multiple formats. Now I've seen even in this festival, when I was watching these films here, the biggest challenge is it starts with 4:3. You find a squarish kind of an image. This image is very square. And then, what happens if you get, hey, what is it? Is it anamorphic? Is it a squeeze format that we are showing wrongly? Is it a DVD that we have put across and we are showing wrongly, and we get frantic? Because the first 8 minutes of the film rolls in 4:3 and then it stretches out. I don't know if many of you watched last night's screening of Orange Suit. Orange Suit is a film that starts off in a 4:3 format where it's shot. What he's done is he shot video and transferred it onto film to make deliberate grains in the beginning, and then the screen just opens out to form a large screen, the normal screen that is 16:9, which is the normal screen that most of these digital DVDs come. So what happens is that digital projections, what happens is the formats are multiple now. You can start in many formats and you can combine many of these formats into anything that you want to. So the other challenge also is like when you're looking at multiple formats, what happens is you can use multiple cameras.
Yeah. This is something which I wanted to tell you about. We were constantly shooting with 3 cameras. And see, it's traditionally completely wrong because the traditional rule, like Siddhi Lume says, is that you change your camera angle 10 degrees visuals so that it cuts in a smooth way. Now, this to me is a story of the past, because we are so used to reality television, we are so used to multiple camera things through the media coming towards us all the time, that kind of traditional continuity in lighting is just a thing in the head anymore. It's not real, because if you see this film Body of Lies, it's a multiple camera thing. One shot is silhouette, another shot is light on it, another shot is something else. But the action continuity is so intact that you don't really miss the continuity which you have missed out on lighting on the other side. So here we have actually shot 3 cameras cutting across axis lines, shooting in all sorts of ways. They cut together in a very interesting way. It's a new aesthetic actually. And you don't really miss continuity because the multiple cameras give you the action continuity so superbly. The suspension of disbelief is totally there. So I think the format which supports multiple camera, I find it really interesting. I never knew about it till I went into this film. I had never shot a multiple camera film and I was reluctant because I thought it's impossible because shots wouldn't cut together. To my surprise, I found that the action continuity kind of binds it together so much like a nice thread, and it works. It totally works.
Because I'm reminded of a great filmmaker called Lalit Rao. What happens is we choose an axis in which from where we shoot, in the sense that we say that okay, let's finish all the shots in this axis and then shift to the other axis. Otherwise, you have to keep relighting them. And lighting essentially is something that really takes time in terms of feature. When you talk about a lot of lights and feature filmmaking and very formal kind of filmmaking, then that takes a lot of time. Shifting the lights and shifting these things and then bringing the continuity back into place takes a lot of time. So what happens is when I'm reminded of Kurosawa because he's a filmmaker who insists on shooting his script in the same way that he has shot it. He's written it. He's written it, exactly. I want a close up from here, and then I cut to a mid shot, and then I cut to a long shot, and then I cut back to a mid shot, then I cut to the over axis on the other side, and then I come back to this side. So you imagine the kind of camera placements. So in spite of using multiple cameras, the lighting becomes a challenge.
True. No, I think with the faster speed media, we'll soon be working with sets which are lit, sets which are pre-lit.
Okay.
We are trying to do it in Vishnuloka also. I mean, most of those sets are actually lit to a level where you can actually shoot in every angle. You can kind of shoot 360 degrees without really it's not like going flat on the whole thing.
Also to indicate source may become a major idea now.
No, the problem is that becomes a challenge. No, but again the problem is the ground lighting will change. The problem is essentially one would launch all the lights on the top, most of it, because you want to shoot 360 angles. You don't want the light frame, the light stands.
No. So essentially, you're going into a sphere where your practicals will light the set now.
Correct.
That's what
Stanley Kubrick tried it in Ice White Shot. It's almost shot.
It's going more the documentary. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and it was beautiful.
The point is now in this light, what we try to do is we just increase the intensities of this just like a little bit, and then
I'm sorry to interrupt. Practical. The word practical here means
practical.
See, this is a practical light. If you indicate that this in the frame, the lighting may not be done by this. It may be done by an outside source. It is just there to indicate night or an interior or something. But the practical itself will become an important source in the future.
Yeah, another thing which I want to tell you, I shot a film called David. It's like a 3-part film. The part which I shot was set in the 70s and it's in black and white. And for once I was going to shoot black and white, I went to study how people shot black and white, how people handled the color in those days, everything. And I realized now we have the option of actually shooting a black and white film, looking at a black and white monitor. So you just take the saturation out of the image and you see everything in black and white and you shoot for it. This is an advantage which filmmakers who worked in black and white never had. It was much easier for us. On the way we are figuring out, okay, the eye doesn't see color, so the eye is more sensitive to textures. We need texture in that, we need texture in that. We are also figuring out, okay, unless you show the source really in black and white, it doesn't communicate that it's day or night or interior, exterior, nothing it communicates. So we started working those into it. So we understood black and white filmmaking while we were going through it. Only because we were actually looking at a black and white image and shooting it. And we had shots like the director wanted a shot coming from above the dining table, the camera comes under the dining table. This guy and girl is underneath,